Welcome back, guys. Right, today I'm brewing this Cooper's Australian Pale Ale kit. This happens to be one of my favourite one-can kits. It's excellent on its own, but it also is very good for pimping up, dry hopping, or adding your own little twists. But today I'm going to be using it as a base for a partial mash recipe. So I'm actually going to be making a Motueka blonde ale recipe. That's going to be that's going to be a partial mash. So basically what that means is with these kits here, you need to add about the same amount, equal amount as this kit in extra fermentables. So to make a 23 litre batch, you need to add about a kilo or kilo and a half of extra fermentables. So you can either add dextrose, brewing sugar, brew enhancer, liquid malt extract, that kind of thing. So instead of using any of those kind of refined sugars, what I'm going to be using is some grains. So what I've got here is a bag of Pale Ale Malt, I've got a bag of Carapils, and I've got some other bags of already opened grains that I've been using for some brew in the bag batches that I've been doing recently. So the plan is that I'm going to mash 1.5 kilos of this Pale Ale Malt here. I'm going to add 200 grams of Carapils and 250 grams of Wheat Malt. I'm going to mash those grains for about an hour in some hot water. I'm not going to get too scientific about it. After about an hour, I'm going to sparge the grains, which just basically means rinse them of their sugars in slightly hotter water. And after that, bring it to the boil. I'm going to boil it for about half an hour. So during that process, I'm going to use it as an opportunity to get some hops in there as well. So with these kits, this is already pre-bittered. So there's enough bittering in this kit for a batch of 23 litre beer. So I don't want to be adding any or too much more bitterness from the hops that I add to my wort. So what I'm going to do is just add a small amount of hops towards the end of that boil. So I'm actually going to be adding 20 grams of Motueka hops at the last 5 minutes of the boil. So I've punched all of this into a brewing app, Brew Father. It tells me that this is going to add 24 IBUs of bitterness, and adding 20 grams of Motueka in the last 5 minutes of the boil is going to add another 3. So I'm looking at in total 27 IBUs. So this is a blonde ale, so it's very much at the top end of that range of bitterness for that style, but it's just in there. So I should end up with 27 IBUs, there or thereabouts, which is perfect for me. I like my beers on the sort of less bitterness end of the scale, so that works for me. So that's it really. I mean, it sounds complicated, but it's not really. I'm just mashing these grains. You need a pot big enough, obviously, to do it, but it's really the only extra bit of equipment you need. You might already have one you use for stock or something like that. I've just bought I use a 20 litre pot that I got from Amazon to do sort of mini mashes and small brew in the bag batches. It cost me about 20 quid, I think, and I've really had the use out of it. So if you can't be asked, or you haven't got the kit to do full batches of brew in the bag, but you want to have a mess around with grains, then this is the perfect opportunity to have a go. All you need is a slightly bigger pot. So I reckon this is going to be worth the extra hassle. I probably wouldn't do it all the time. I don't often have that much spare time to do sort of grain brewing, and generally I'm happy with using these kits with a brew enhancer or some liquid malt, for example. But I've got a little bit of spare time on my hands this weekend, so I thought, what the hell, let's give it a go and see if it improves the kit. I suspect it's going to lift it to the next level, or at least I hope it does. I hope it's worth the extra effort. And yeah, this I think it's a good experiment. So yeah, the recipe actually was inspired from a recipe I found in an article that was on homebrewforum.co.uk, thehomebrewforum.co.uk. So credit to the author of that article. It's an excellent article about partial mash brewing, and I think you probably have to consider this as a partial mash rather than a mini mash, because this is, you know, it's going to be a fair amount of grains that we're mashing here. But there's an excellent article about you know, doing this kind of method to add the extra fermentables to your kits. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good experiment. Right, I'm going to show you how to, well, at least how I am going to approach this. I'm going to get these mashed and add it to my kit, and yeah, we get it fermenting. So yeah, let's get it brewed. Right, here we go for the tasting. Motueka Blonde Ale. So, question marks over the carbonation on this. I did try a plastic bottle that I had, and it felt quite solid, but when I opened it, the carbonation was on the kind of low side. But anyway, I thought I'd give one of the glass bottles a try. For some reason they seem to carbonate better in the glass bottle, so who knows, it might turn out a bit fizzier. But anyway, this has been in the bottle for now 3 weeks. It's pretty clear. I actually cold crashed this brew, and it was crystal clear when I sort of put it into the bottle. It's very little sediment, so yeah, it should pour pretty clear. Okay, bit of a hiss coming up. It's not a few bubbles rising. As suspected, carbonation not too great. I've had a few problems with carbonation recently. Having said that, all right, don't look too bad as I pour in. Yeah, I don't know whether it's due to the cold crashing of it or not, but actually look at that now. I said that. Perfectly carbonated. What about? So maybe it just needed a little bit longer in the bottle to carbonate. All right, so there you go. Perfect head on that, perfectly carbonated. It's, I don't know, sort of towards the darker edge of a blonde ale, I guess. A light golden colour, I would call it. I'm guessing that is from the Pale Ale Malt, the colour, because the actual Cooper's Australian Pale Ale kit is pretty pale itself. Very sort of lagery colour when you, if you do it kind of on its own. So I think the Pale Ale Malt has brought a little bit of colour to it. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. Crystal clear, even after 3 weeks. It's got a nice aroma to it. So just a kind of background bit of hoppage from the Motueka, but there's a definite kind of sort of malty back sort of note to it, which, you know, is coming from the grains, I guess. Smells good, very nice. All right, so let's go in, have a taste. That is cracking. Yeah, it's lovely. The malt, or sorry, the grain, I should say, it's definitely brought something to it. It's got that nice sort of grainy malt flavour to it. It's not particularly hoppy, but it's kind of in there in the background. There's a hint of citrus, like sort of lemon and lime, which that Motueka brings to the brew. And Motueka is probably one of my favourite hops. It's not kind of overstated. It's nice and subtle, and it's just kind of in the background. And it, you know, it brings enough to the table without it being a kind of smack in the face type hop. But I'm really impressed with that. Obviously, it was a lot more effort than just chucking in a kilo of brew enhancer. In fact, it's probably not much less effort than doing a full kind of all grain brew in a bag. It took exactly the same sort of time, and it was the same sort of process I would use for a kind of 12-litre batch of all grain. So what is the point really? The point is, I suppose, I've only got a small pot, so this enabled me to brew kind of a full length brew, 23-litre brew, just in my using my small pot that I normally do, smaller brew in a bag. So I topped it up using the kit really. And also grain is a lot cheaper than malt extract. So last time I checked, I think a kilo of malt extract, dry malt extract, was like 8 or 9 quid, at least 8 quid. So, you know, the 2 kilos odd of grain that I used in this brew probably cost, I don't know, 150, 2 quid maybe. So yeah, in terms of cost, it's definitely keeping the numbers down. In terms of effort, obviously, a lot more effort, but you know, effort equals reward in this case. I think this is a really nice beer. You got the time on a small pot, well, a 20-litre pot, then it's well worth it, the experiment. It's delicious, and it was exactly what I was hoping for. Out of the fridge, this is going to be superb, and the sun's out actually today. It's a lovely late spring day, really nice, about 20 degrees. So I'm going to take this one outside in the garden and enjoy it in the sun. So I'm chalking this one up as a success. If you want to sort of have a go at all grain, or you don't know where to start, or you want to start messing about with grains, then great little experiment to do, all worth the effort. Cheers.